house, and I will tell you a little the story behind it, and then I'll turn you loose. The rest of it will be a self-guided tour, okay?
Okay.
All right, the house was built in 1903 for the growing family of that couple on the wall right there. That is Jefferson Davis Smith and his wife Gertrude. Mr. Smith was a prominent businessman in our town, and his business was property. He owned the majority of property in our county, and I'll tell you more about how much that was a little bit later. He and his wife Gertrude had 7 children, 5 boys and 2 girls. This is called the Gertrude Smith house. His wife's name is Gertrude, so you would assume that's why. But it's not after her. Here is the other Gertrude Smith. This is their oldest child, named Gertrude after her mom, of course. And she's the one that left the house behind for us. She never got married, so that's why we still call her Gertrude Smith, just like her mama. Gets a little confusing sometimes. But she was born in 1891, and after college, she moved to New York City, and she became an interior decorator. She lived and worked in New York for several years, and then she decided to open up her own business, and she came back to North Carolina to Greensboro, south of here, about an hour south of here, and she opened up her own interior decorating business and was a very successful interior decorator. But in 1936, when after her father had passed away, Miss Gertrude decided to come back to Mount Airy, and so she sold her business and came back home and moved back into the house. Her mom is still living here, and 2 of her brothers are still here. Robert and Cameron, 2 of her brothers, also never got married, and they never left home. So they were still here too. So now the 4 of them are living here together, and Miss Gertrude took over her dad's property business. So now she's the property manager, and that's what she does the rest of her life, is she's the property manager instead of an interior decorator. She also started working on the house a lot. That sun porch that you came in on, that was one of the first things that she did was to fix that. And then later throughout the years, she eventually redecorated the whole interior of the house to match her style as a decorator. And probably most of that was done after her mom died in 1960. The 2 brothers that lived here with her died in the early 70s. She actually outlived all her brothers, even though she was the oldest child in the family. She did have a baby sister named Isabel in that wedding dress over there behind her, who had married and moved away several years before. But before her brothers passed away, after their mom passed away in 1960, all that property that their dad owned was evenly distributed among the 7 children. But Miss Gertrude bought all of her siblings out, so eventually she owned all of it herself. So when she died in 1981, she was 90 years old. Before she died, after her brothers died, she decided to sell all that property. She owns it all now, and she decided to sell it because she was getting on up in age. Now that consisted of 7 tobacco farms at a time when tobacco was the thing to get into. This family had personal connections with R.J. Reynolds. So I have a feeling that he had something to do with it too. But anyway, they sold all their tobacco farms. They had 67 houses. She owned 67 houses here in town, and also a general store on Main Street. So before she passed away, she sold all that and liquidated all her property. She took all that money and any money she had inherited, plus she got her 2 brothers' parts that lived here with her because they never married, and so they left everything to her. And one of those was a doctor here in town, so he had a little money. She put it all into a private trust account. Okay. So when she died in 1981, it's time to hear the reading of the will. Well, she had 5 nieces and nephews that came from out of town to come hear it because they are assuming they're the sole survivors of the family. They're going to, inherit something. But when they heard the reading of the will, they found out entirely different. If you ever have an Aunt Gertrude, you better be nice to her because she didn't leave them a dime, not a dime. What she did was before she passed away, she appointed a board of directors to be in charge of her money and to follow a list of instructions that she left behind, which was to turn her house into a living museum. She wanted people to be able to come in and enjoy her house, and she said it would always be free of charge. So that's why you don't have to pay anything to come in. We're honoring Miss Gertrude's wishes, and we don't want to upset her. So we do that. And so we have hundreds of visitors, thousands of visitors a year come over here and see her house. And we'll do that until one day her money will run out, but we don't think it's anytime soon. Now her home is on the National Register of Historic Homes, so we know that might help out one day too. But you can imagine her nieces and nephews were not the happiest of people. But, you know, they should have been nicer to her. They should have taken care of her. But we think she did what she did because of that church you can see through that window right there. That's the First Baptist Church of Mount Airy. You can see how close it is to this house. They built that church about 4 years after this house was built, and they built it right up on the edge of the property because this is the only piece of the whole block they didn't own, and they wanted this block. They wanted this part of the block. But Mr. Smith had, you know, built his nice home here, and he wasn't about to sell it to them. But they kept wanting to buy this house and this piece of land in case they ever wanted to expand their church in this direction. But Mr. Smith wouldn't sell it to them. But it went on for years, and when it got down to Miss Gertrude owning it, they made the comment to her, "We'll get it after you're gone." And she said, "Over my dead body." So we have a feeling that's why she did what she did, was to protect it from getting, because it probably would have been torn down, you know, if they had gotten it, because they wanted this land for their church. So I don't think the First Baptist Church is ever going to get this place anyway.
That's a big church, right?
It is. Very affluent, big church, yeah.
It takes up the whole rest of the block.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, this is the old part, and right next to it is the new part, so it does take up the rest of it. This house has not been staged. This is all their stuff, all the stuff that belonged to her and her family, pretty much left in the way that she left it. All we do is decorate it for each season. And, but she wanted it to look like they were still living here, so that's the way we tried to keep it. So it looks like, and somebody just left said that it was so cozy. You know, it was a cozy place, and I said that's what she wanted. And there's 2 floors. There's a bedroom floor and this floor. And all we ask that you not sit on the furniture or open up doors and drawers or pick things up. But take your time walking around and looking. We have framed, yes, it's okay to take pictures. There's framed descriptions in every room and hallway that give you more information if you want to read more about it.
I wonder if she went to Japan, because there's all these Japanese.
All right, hope y'all enjoy it.
Did she go to Japan?
I'm glad, no. Well, she
Okay.
might have. She traveled a lot, but most of this artwork is one of her brothers, one of the ones that lived here with her, Robert, that was the doctor. He was a doctor in town. He served in World War II, and he traveled and collected artwork from the places that he traveled.
Oh,
And
so
plus,
he
she was an art
probably went.
history major too in college, so probably some of this is, you know, connected to that too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. darkness fool you. Smile with those bright sunny days. Sunny days, laugh and shout out hallelujah. Smile with those bright sunny days. Why wear a nasty old frown? Why let the blues get you down? Sunny days, you've got something coming to you. Smile with those bright sunny days. Life's full of care, it's everywhere, making the whole world seem blue. You can be sad, you can be glad, but it's entirely up to you. Sunny days, never let the dark ones fool you. Smile with those bright sunny days. Sunny days, laugh and shout out hallelujah. Smile with those bright sunny days.